On the 11th of September 1973, the democratic government of Socialist President Salvador Allende was overthrown by General Augusto Pinochet in a CIA-backed coup. Over 40,000 people were tortured, including children, and more than 3,000 people were executed. Allende allegedly shot himself after defending his presidential compound and giving a final address to the nation in which he said, "History is ours and people make history." On the day of the coup, a group of Chilean economists called the Chicago Boys released a proposal advocating a little-known economic theory called neoliberalism. The group got their name from the links made between the Chicago School of Economics and the conservative Catholic University of Chile in the early 1950s. Their free market ideas clashed with a widespread consensus at the time which favoured government intervention in the economy, regulation, and welfare spending. The Chicago Boys studied under influential free market economist Milton Friedman.
Where do you have the greatest degree of inequality? In the socialist states of the world.
Friedman gave personal advice to the dictator Pinochet, who would rule Chile for the next 17 years. Chile's coup became a model for subsequent right-wing coups in Latin America. Following a 1976 coup in Argentina, 22,000 people were murdered or disappeared within 2 years. Despite being celebrated as a free market success story, in late 1982, Chile's economy crashed, industry came to a halt, and pensions were wiped out. Riots and strikes forced Pinochet to reintroduce the minimum wage, as well as collective bargaining rights for unions and a job creation program. Economic crisis was abated by the kind of state intervention that the neoliberals so hated. Although Chile was celebrated by the political right as an economic miracle, growth rested mainly on the productivity of the country's copper mines, which remained nationalized under Pinochet. However, in the first 10 years of Pinochet's rule, unemployment shot from 4% to 22%. Pinochet was forced to step down in 1990 after losing a referendum. By this point, poverty had doubled and the real value of wages had dropped by 40%. Despite this, UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher praised what she called Chile's progression to a free market economy, saying there were many lessons to be learned. Thatcher's government set itself the task of breaking the power of Britain's trade union movement. In America, President Ronald Reagan cracked down on organised workers, leading to a House subcommittee accusing him of the betrayal of American workers. As the influence of neoliberalism grew throughout the 1980s, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which had once advocated state intervention in struggling economies, became the twin drivers of neoliberal policymaking. This took place against a backdrop of growing economic crises and falling profits. After the Asian financial crisis in the late 1990s, the IMF advocated more austerity measures, pointing to the legacy of Chile. But critics argued that free market policies created greater instability and inequality. By the time of the financial crisis of 2008, most mainstream political parties, from so-called socialist parties like New Labour in Britain and PASOK in Greece, to conservatives and liberals, were united in their support for neoliberal policies. Meanwhile, a wave of democratic governments overturned their neoliberal predecessors all across Latin America. Between 1998 and 2011, 16 countries elected left-leaning governments, including Chile, Venezuela, Bolivia, and Argentina. At the same time that neoliberalism was being implemented in North America and Europe, often in the face of public anger, the region where the project was born was rejecting the dominance of the free market.